Well, hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm so happy that you are with us this evening or this morning or this afternoon, whenever you're choosing to watch, for all of our friends that will watch this on YouTube. But thank you to our attendees who are able to join us live tonight. Thanks so much. Make yourselves comfortable, grab a cuppa. If you have a pair of earbuds or headphones handy, Mr. Summers will be playing some media clips, and while he and I have checked it out and it's fine, if you wanted to enhance your audio experience, and like I said, you do have your earbuds or your headphones nearby, go ahead and plug them in right now while we wait for our attendees to just file in. Otherwise, no problem. Turn your volume up way high and then adjust accordingly. All right, and with that, good evening, hello, and welcome to Stamp Chat. My name's Heidi Rhodes. Our Stamp Chat today is stamp collecting in popular culture. This is a fun multimedia mix of movie clips, TV shows, stories, songs, and even a comic strip, all of which have a stamp collecting theme. You'll see and hear items dating from 1939 to 2011. The presenter of this chat is Mr. Howard Summers. Howard has collected stamps since he put the Great Britain Fife Harling stamp into an album 50 years ago. Now he collects worldwide, specialing in Great Britain postal stationery, US, Biafra and Katanga, Antarctica, and recently Malayan states. Being a film buff, he sought to combine movies and philately, writing a booklet, The Philatelic Filmography, in 2007. This expanded massively into the 400-page book, Stamps and Stamp Collecting in Popular Culture, which came out in 2015. It won Vermeil medals at Europhilex and the World Stamp Show in New York. This Stamp Chat is based on items in this book. In January 2020, he published his latest book, Bibliography of the Philately and the Postal History of the British Isles, which lists every book written about British and Irish stamps and postal history. You will definitely want to get that one. Howard lives in Borehamwood, UK, and joins us tonight.
Hi.
Today's Stamp Chat is sponsored by APS Membership Department. This year, we launched the 2020 Challenge, and our goal is to share the hobby with over 2,000 new members. This ambitious goal requires all of us to accomplish it. We're so serious, we're offering 3 lifetime memberships as an incentive and a thank you. APS members are our best recruiters. You know exactly why membership in the APS is so important, and the great feeling of being a part of 134 years of fellowship in the hobby. Whether you're a beginning collector or have collected for years, we welcome you to join the American Philatelic Society today. Visit www.stamps.org/join now. Now, before we begin, we have a few housekeeping items to take care of. Today's session is a webinar, and as such, all mics and audio are muted and turned off respectively throughout the presentation. However, please feel free to use the chat box to engage with other participants, attendees, and use the Q&A box for questions for Mr. Summers. This session is being recorded and will appear on our APS YouTube channel. And with that, we present Stamps in Popular Culture. Thank you so much, Howard Summers. Thank you.
Thanks, Heidi. Hello, I'm Howard, and welcome to my presentation on stamp collecting in popular culture. I will be looking at some fictional portrayals of philately in books, comics, movies, and television taken from my book, and I'll throw in a couple of songs for good measure. In the research for my book, the cover of which is shown on the left of the screen, I found that stamp collectors and collecting are portrayed within stories in 3 contentious ways. Firstly, stamps are seen as having great monetary value and their owners are very wealthy. Some plots involve crime. A rare stamp is found or is stolen with the appropriate financial and/or criminal consequences. I think that many authors and screenwriters view stamp collecting in this manner and not as the aesthetic and scientific hobby that philately is. Consequently, valuable stamps such as the British Guiana 1 cent black on magenta, the Post Office Mauritius, and the inverted Jenny have all been used many times in stories and movie and TV plots. Secondly, stamp collectors and dealers are often shown to be eccentric, old, spectacle-wearing men. I have no idea where they get that idea from. You will see a couple of examples of this stereotype later. And finally, stories often involve the child stamp collector, and this reinforces the idea that stamp collecting is a juvenile pastime. Indeed, many books, films, and animation are made specifically for children. So let's begin our multimedia stamp journey with this, a radio mystery from 1966. There were over 500 of these 1-minute plays produced from 1965 to 1967 by Creative Marketing and Communications of Cincinnati, with the voice of Bill Owen on the right. Each episode contained a mystery to solve. You will hear a pause after about 40 seconds where the listener would phone into the radio station and guess the solution. Now, let's hear the play with its solution.
Ellery Queen's Minute Mysteries. This is Ellery Queen with the case I call the Chinese Stamp Caper. While I was in Hong Kong, a dealer offered me some rare Chinese stamps he claimed he discovered in an old temple. One item on which he offered me an excellent price was a Chinese special delivery stamp of 1913, pasted to a postcard. The postcard also bore a scene of the Pekin Palace. The dealer said he'd let me have this rare find for only $500. I said, whatever the price, my friend, you're either a fraud or a fool. In a moment, I'll explain why. In the case of the Chinese Stamp Caper, a Chinese special delivery stamp of 1913, and there was one, was over 7 inches long and 2 inches high, hardly suitable for a postcard. We stamped out a swindler. Listen again to Ellery Queen's Minute Mysteries.
And here is the stamp in question. The stamp was issued in 5 sections, with a counterfoil stub first, the second to fourth parts for the receiving office, and the last part a receipt held by the sending office. Only the small fourth part was actually stuck to a letter. The whole thing was 248 millimeters long. Hundreds of novels and short stories have been written about stamps and stamp collecting, and here you can see the covers of 4 examples from 1999, 1938, 2013, and 1936. Now, books aren't very audio-visual, so I will just talk a little bit about one of these. Hitman, Hit List, Hit Parade, Hit and Run, and Hit Me are a series of books by the thriller writer Lawrence Block. They are mostly collections of short stories and were published from 1998 to 2013. They concern the adventures of John Keller, a professional assassin who incidentally never uses his first name. Now, a hitman earns a lot of money and probably doesn't declare it all to the IRS. He will keep a low profile, and if he can, will usually retire early. Now, Keller does exactly this. Fed up with the job, he retires to his apartment in New York and decides to take up a hobby. He chooses philately. He decides to collect pre-1952 worldwide issues, excluding the US. And soon, realizing that rare stamps are rather expensive, he returns to his old job. The 5 books relate his professional and on occasion philatelic adventures. I'll mention just a few of his stamp purchases. Firstly, Keller specializes in the stamps of the French colonies, and in Keller by a Nose, he spots 2 rare stamps in an auction that he really needs. to complete a country in his album. They are the Martinique, 1886, 5 cent on 20 cent, and 1888, 15 cent on 4 cent overprints. Both are offered with Philatelic Foundation certificates, and their estimates are $15,000 and $10,000 respectively. Keller thinks that he would need around $50,000 to realistically have a chance of securing them. But he can come by that sort of money with relative ease. Just kill someone. And in the story Keller's Homecoming, in the book Hit Me, he attends an auction in New York whilst on a hit. He is outbid on a British East Africa 1891 half anna on 2 anna vermilion Mombasa provisional, initialed AB in black. The initials stand for Archibald Brown, who was the cashier of the British East Africa Company. He misses that lot. However, he buys a complete sheet of the German East Africa 1916 7.5 heller Wuga provisional, which was printed at a mission in Wuga near Wilhelmsthal, but not issued due to the arrival of new stamps from Germany on the blockade runner SS Marie. Now, when the British forces advanced on the area later in that year, the provisional stamps were buried in a cemented drain on a plantation to avoid being captured, and they were only dug up in 1921. The following year, these remainders were sold on the philatelic market. I heartily recommend these books. They are very well written, exciting, and contain a good deal of philately. The books in themselves are also philatelic collectibles. When Hit Me was published in 2013, a souvenir sheetlet was produced for publicity purposes, showing some of the stamps in Keller's collection. And here you can see it. The books have also been published as limited edition philatelic editions with a postmarked stamp on them. Here are 2 examples, signed by Lawrence Block himself. Finally, Lawrence also wrote a short story in 2016, Keller's Fedora, but it doesn't mention stamps in any major way. That's philatelic fiction. Let's have a musical interlude. We all know songs like Return to Sender and Please Mr. Postman, but they don't actually mention stamps or philately. There are quite a few that do though, and illustrated here are 3 records from 1935, 1977 from Spain, and 1985 from Holland. I have chosen a song by the Sweet Violet Boys from 1939, written by Lou Klein, and it's called The Stamp Collector.
A stamp collector and his wife went out for a car ride. They had an awful accident and landed in the roadside. He felt a little groggy, but wasn't hurt a bit. But her face and her body, they were all cut up, and he didn't have a first aid kit. But he had lots of new stamps from countries everywhere. And wherever she was cut up, he stuck a stamp right there. Her eyes were full of China. She carried France right on her head. In her ears she had Turkey. Oh, she wished that she was dead. Her nose was stuck in Russia. England of her neck she had a piece. It's known all over town, whenever she sits down, she always sits in Greece. when they retired, she woke him up and said, you know that you poked me in Sweden and it hurts in Mexico. Don't rest your head near Norway. Keep your feet away from old Japan. And then she said, my dear, will you please scratch me here? I'm Mitchy in Siam.
There you go, stamps as elastoplasts. I bet some people think that's all stamps are good for. Oh, and the Sweet Violet Boys were actually the Kentucky country music group, the Prairie Ramblers, if anyone is at all interested. Let's move to the movies. And here are 3 posters from films with a stamp theme made in 1939, 1973 in Britain, and 2000 in Argentina. I particularly recommend finding 9 Queens on TV. It's a great thriller. Did you know that over 100 films have featured stamps or stamp collecting in their plot? A recent example is Brewster's Millions. Well, it's from 1985. It's about a man who must spend a fortune, become penniless, and thus inherit an even greater fortune. In this movie, Richard Pryor plays Monty Brewster. He must find novel ways to spend his money, and there is one way you can spend a lot that we all know about.
Thank you, I'm just in time. Do you sell stamps?
I think that you want the stationery store across the street. The stamps we have here are very rare, very expensive.
How expensive?
Well, let me show you, Mr.
Montgomery Brewster.
Montgomery Brewster. I have been reading so much about you in the newspaper.
I'd like to see your most expensive stamp.
Ah, one moment.
You know, I think this may be the first intelligent thing he's done with his money since he got it. Well, maybe he's coming to his senses, you know what I mean? What do you think?
Hey, I'm getting paid to take pictures. My job is not to interpret reality.
You're a real jerk, you know that? Ain't that the truth? Hey, tell it to my accountant.
As you can see, the airplane was accidentally printed upside down. Of the 100 of these stamps originally printed, this is the only known copy in existence. Baron Levitsky recently offered $850,000 for it, and I laughed in his face.
I'd say the stamp he's bought is a considerable asset.
He doesn't even understand the rules yet. Let's see him get out of this one.
Good morning, Mr. Granville.
Good morning.
Here's the mail.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that I can do for you, sir?
Oh, hold on for a minute. I may want to send you to the files. Norris. Hackensack Bulls. Having a wonderful time. Wish you were here. Best wishes, Monty Brewster. God, that isn't an asset anymore. He's mailed it. Get Cox over here.
Right away, sir.
I think there's something wrong here. What Monty has done is take a mint inverted Jenny and send it through the mail, creating a genuine postally used example. It would therefore become unique and be worth even more. Lucky for Monty Brewster, it now belongs to the lawyers. One of the most famous philatelic movies is Charade from 1963. It has a money into stamps plot. Reggie Lampert's husband has stolen $250,000 from the American government. He is murdered, and his associates, plus the mysterious Peter Joshua, are after the money. They think his wife has it. She has, but in the form of stamps on an envelope that was sent to her. However, she inadvertently gives the envelope to her friend's son, Jean-Louis. He goes to the Paris stamp market, where he swaps it for a colourful worldwide stamp packet. Reggie, Peter Joshua, played by Cary Grant, and the others are at the market following the Mrs. Lampert when it dawns on them where Mr. Lampert hid the money. Reggie arrives at the office of the stamp dealer who gave the boy the stamp packet, and this is what happens next.
Entrez.
Monsieur Félix?
Oui? I was expecting you. I knew you would come. Look at them, madame. Have you ever in your entire life seen anything so beautiful?
I'm sorry, I don't know anything about stamps.
I know them as one knows his own face, though I had never seen them. This one, a Swedish 4 shilling, called the Gula Fyraskillingen, printed in 1854.
What is it worth?
Well, the money is unimportant.
I'm afraid it's very important.
Well, in your money, perhaps $85,000.
May I sit down?
Yeah.
And the blue one?
Oh, it's called the Hawaiian Blue. In 1894, the owner was murdered by a rival collector who was obsessed to own it.
And what is its value today?
65,000.
And the last one?
Ah, the best for last. Le chef-d'œuvre de la collection, the masterpiece. It's the most valuable stamp in the world. It's called the Gazette Moldave. It was printed by hand on colored paper and marked with the initials of the printer. Today, it has a value of $100,000. I'm not a thief, madame. I knew there was some mistake.
You gave the boy a great many stamps in return. Are they for sale now?
Oh, let me see. 350 European, 200 Asian, 175 American, 100 African, and 12 Princess Grace commemorative, which comes to 10 francs. And don't forget these.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, for a few minutes they were mine. That is enough.
The stamps seen on screen are slightly altered imitations of real classic stamps that you all know. In this frame, the props are on the left and the real stamps are on the right. Notice that the imitations have their values increased by 1. And in the scene we have just seen, we see the monetization of stamps, the old bespectacled stamp dealer, and the juvenile collector, which are all staples of philatelic fiction. Incidentally, Peter Joshua turns out to be a US official trying to retrieve the money for the government. Let's have another song. This is from a Swedish indie band, I'm from Barcelona. It is from 2006, and it's called Collection of Stamps. Well, I don't know about you, but I haven't got any from Uzbekistan either. Everyone should be singing about the fun of stamp collecting, and here are some singers on stamps. Of course, television has had its fair share of philatelic fiction. Here we can see Going Postal, a British drama from 2010, The Simpsons from 2005, where a stamp museum is to be built in Springfield. There's Homer complaining about it. And from 1962, The Avengers, an episode entitled The Mauritius Penny. Again, crime and thrillers feature heavily with shows such as Mission Impossible, the Chico episode, and The Streets of San Francisco, the Stamp of Death episode. Here is the first mention of philately in an American television drama. The series was Racket Squad, starring Reed Hadley, and this episode from the 25th of March 1952 is called The Case of the Matchmaker.
As a rule, a person who has been swindled comes to this department with a complaint. And from that point on, we start our investigation. I remember one case, however, where I stumbled into a situation simply because I happened to be a philatelist. Philatelist? Stamp collector. Whenever I'm in the neighborhood, I stop in at Coswick's stamp shop and say hello to Mr. Coswick. sometimes picking up a few stamps to add to my collection.
Ah, here they are.
United Nations Postal Administrative issue.
Yes. Now that's one series I know you'll want.
Right you are. Let's see, 11 stamps in the regular issue.
And 4 airmails. 6, 10, 15, and 25 cents.
How much is that altogether?
$2.08, 8.5. Total face value. You'll want the complete sheets of 50, eh?
I'm a collector, not an investor, Larry.
Would you mind looking through these for a while? They just arrived from the trip.
Yeah, sure, thanks.
I'll see you in a minute. Good afternoon.
How do you do?
Can I help you?
Yes. Do you appraise stamp collections?
Oh, yes, indeed.
Then would you mind?
Let me. Of course, I can hardly give you an appraisal unless you left it with me for a few days.
I'd rather not. If you could just give me an approximate idea.
Let's see.
Well?
Well, it's hardly what I'd call a valuable collection. I should say it's worth about 75.
75?
Oh, I know. The satisfaction of accumulating a stamp collection sometimes gives the owner an exaggerated idea of its value. But really, that's about all it's worth.
Oh. Well, frankly, I brought the album here because I was beginning to wonder if it was even worth 50,000.
1,000?
Why, yes. Isn't that what you meant? 75,000?
Well, I'm sorry you misunderstood me. I meant to say $75.
$75. I wonder if I might just sit down.
Why, certainly. Captain Braddock. This lady, she thought her stamp collection was worth a fortune.
And what is it worth?
75, tops $100. Oh, it's quite all right. This is Captain Braddock, head of the police racket squad.
There is the old bespectacled stamp dealer again, and the monetary aspect of stamps is once again to the fore. In the story, the woman has been conned by a man called Paul Roston. Here they are in a flashback.
Here are my etchings.
Why, they're only stamps.
Yes, and on them some of the finest etching the world has ever seen.
You're a collector?
Yes, that's my hobby. Do you know anything about stamps?
Oh, yes, a little. An airmail costs 6 cents, and a penny postcard costs 2 cents.
Is that all? You might find it fascinating. One learns a lot about people and countries with old stamps.
Well, it does sound interesting.
I'll tell you what. If you are really interested, tomorrow we'll visit the International Stamp Agency. But first, we'll have lunch at the La Casetta. It's a charming Italian restaurant. I think you'll like it. All right?
That'll be fine.
Good. Oh, the 1 penny black. Oh, yes. I have several of these. They must be worth about $2,000 by now.
Well, at present, it catalogs at $2,500.
Really? Now, you see, I don't even know the value of my own stamps. Oh, Mr. Wilson, I wish you would acquire the British Guiana 1 penny stamp for me.
Well, I'll try very hard, but after all, $50,000 is...
$50,000 for one stamp?
Yes, madam. It's the only one. Oh, excuse me, I'll catch the phone. I'll be right back.
I had no idea stamps could be worth so much.
Oh, yes, they are. Look at these, for instance. The Zeppelin issue. Originally, they cost $4.55.
And their value has increased?
$125 to be exact. The 2 sheets I bought at original cost catalog now at $12,500.
Do you still have all of them?
Oh, some of them. Some of them I traded for other valuable stamps. That's part of the fun of collecting. That's no competition to you.
In case you wish to know what happens in the end, the episode can be viewed on YouTube. Stamps and vacuum cleaners don't mix. That's an odd title. I'll explain. An inverted jenny, position number 78, was once temporarily mislaid when it was hoovered up by the maid of a philatelist in his stamp room. It was reported by Lynn's Stamp News in 1989, and here you can see the actual stamp. Now, this is a case of life imitating art, or fiction, as back in 1964, an episode of The Lucy Show had an identical storyline. Here is the scene from the episode, Lucy and the Missing Stamp.
Yes, Jim, I bought the stamp. It's a beauty, a 1918 upside-down airmail. Yeah, it isn't canceled. It's in perfect condition. Cost me $3,000, but it was worth it. Come in. Come. I haven't seen one of these for a long... What's that, Jim? Oh, no, I don't think so. No,
hello, Mr. Mooney.
Oh, no.
Is Mrs. Mooney at home?
No, and neither am I. Goodbye.
How would you like to surprise your wife with a wonderful gift?
Why should I? She doesn't have anything on me.
I have here the greatest little vacuum cleaner in the whole country.
Bully for you. Mrs. Carmichael, I am talking on the phone. If you don't...
Well, you just finish your conversation while I get the machine ready for a demonstration.
Don't bother. Hello,
Don't
Jim.
bother. I'll just plug it in.
That's a faulty plug. If you plug it in there, you'll get a shock and you'll...
What?
Nothing. Go ahead and plug it in. Never works when you want it to. Jim, I'd better call you back. There's been an interruption here. Yeah.
Now, I want to show you a
great...
great feature of this machine, Mr. Mooney.
Yeah, please, please. I'm talking on the phone.
Well, you just keep right on talking. I want to show you how quietly this machine runs.
Look, Jim, I'll tell you what
Now,
I'll
you
do.
see?
I'll
you just
talk
keep
to you
right on
later
talking,
Yeah.
and you won't notice a single thing.
Get out.
Now, look. Another good feature of this vacuum cleaner, Miss.
Get out! Get out!
I haven't finished my sales talk yet.
Get out!
Well, Mr. Moore, you don't have to get so mad. I'm only trying to make a living. I have to live, don't I?
Why? Get out with that thing! Take it out! Get out! Don't get... Come on! Oh, hello, Jim. Jim? Oh. My stamp? My upside down, my $3,000 stamp. The vacuum cleaner!
Mr. Mooney does get his stamp back in the end. Ah, the rich acclaim. Stamp collecting is often portrayed as a rich person's pursuit, but are the rich interested? You're going to see two examples. Firstly, the nouveau rich Jed Clampett from the Beverly Hillbillies. Here is a scene from a 1965 episode, The Big Bank Battle.
Howdy, folks.
Oh, Mr. Clampett.
I'm just fixing to start out with my handyman wagon again.
Oh, wait, we want to talk to you about taking up a hobby.
Well, Mr. Drysdale, if it's building boats and bottles, it don't just grab a hold of me. Jethro seemed right took with it, though. You can talk to him.
I did.
Mr. Clampett, there are many fascinating hobbies. No man of your means can afford any one of them. Now, step over here and let us show you these priceless collections of philately and numismatics.
Oh, stop waving your college degree. Mr. Clampett, how would you like collecting stamps?
Well, to tell you the truth, we don't write just a whole heap of letters.
Take over.
Well, of course, these are not just ordinary stamps. These are very rare, very valuable collector's items. Now, for example, here's one from Hawaii. The price on it is almost $50,000. Would you like to own that?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Well, I don't know nobody in Hawaii, and if I did, I wouldn't write to them at that price.
Mr. Clampett, these stamps are not to put on letters.
What are they for?
Well, they're just to look at.
Like that boat in the bottle?
Even richer than Jed is Scrooge Mcduck. In 2013, Forbes magazine estimated his worth at $65.4 billion. Now, he collects stamps and has owned some of the rarest, including, of course, the inverted Jenny. Here, from 1982, is the comic book story of another rare stamp that he owned.
The Rare Stamp. Scrooge owns the one and only half-a-cent 1899 duck postage stamp in existence, and it's worth a mint. It does my miser's eyes good just to look at this stamp. But a sudden gust of wind picks up the precious stamp. Stop! Come back! A wind-borne stamp is not easily overtaken. Hey, look out! Get away from my stamp, you wrecked dog! It's stuck on that mutt's moist nose. Dang it. Here, Pooch, here! Oh no! Let the dog go, it's mine! Too late. Strays have to be claimed downtown. Wait, I've got a special request. So, where are you? Odd old duck, but it doesn't matter to me if he rides downtown. So far, all I'm finding are fleas. Huh? Is that him at the door? It is. And there goes my stamp. Stop! Let me out, quick! But you wanted to keep company with your dog. Scrooge unlatches the door when the truck stops. Hey, my stamp! I don't see it. Meanwhile, the stamp touches down again. And personally, mail that letter at once, Miss Twin.
Yes, sir. I'm putting a stamp on it right now, sir.
And so it goes. The next day, Scrooge is in a bad way. I couldn't sleep, fretting over my lost stamp. The morning mail, Mr. Mcduck. Just put it on my desk. I had to pay for one letter due to insufficient postage. Who's a cheapskate? A letter from my lawyer? His monthly bill? Huh? My stamp! This is incredible! Amazing. Mr. Mcduck, rejoicing over receiving a bill in the mail. Will wonders never cease?
Do you know that there have been over 100 comics and comic books that feature stamps and stamp collecting? And here we see Scrooge conducting a stamp auction on a miniature sheep from Dominica. Now, can stamp auctions be funny? Here is a clip from the British sketch show, Not the 9 O'Clock News.
And now lot 174, gentlemen. The Cayman Penny Blue. And I don't think I need to say anything more about it than that. The Cayman Penny Blue. So I'll take the bidding at $1 million, please. $1 million. $1 million. $1.5 million. $2 million. 2 million, 2.5 million, 2.5 million, 3 million, 3 million, 3.5 million, 4 million, 4 million, 4.5 million, 5 million, 5 million, 5.5 million, 6 million, 6 million, 6 million, 6.5 million, 7 million, 7 million, 7.5 million, 7.5 million, 8 million, 8 million, 8 million, 8 million, 8 million back. Thank you. And now, lot 175, another Cayman Blue. Anyone?
And so we reach the end of our little journey into philatelic pop culture. Now on the screen in front of you, on the left, is a poem written for the Guinness Brewery. And there have been a lot of philatelic poems. And on the right is one of many examples of philatelic sheet music. The Library of Congress has a rather nice collection of that. And so finally, just to prove the youth of the world are being encouraged by TV to get into the wonderful hobby of stamp collecting, here's a clip from Family Guy in 2011, in which Peter Griffin tries to get his son interested in stamps.
Okay, Chris, this is the gentle art of philately, otherwise known as stamp collecting. Here's a pile of stamps carefully culled from swap meets and garage sales. And look at this. It's a Bolivian airplane. Now, it says it's worth 8 cents, but really, it's worth 12. See that? Already ahead. Came right out of the blocks with a winner. Here, Chris. Now, we'll just paste this very carefully into the book. And that's where it belongs. Now, this is a loaded handgun. And what we're going to do now is kill ourselves because this is horrible.
Couldn't we just stop philatling?
Too late.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Howard. Why don't you tell us about this end slide here for us before we start our question and answers? And friends, go ahead and use that Q&A box so I can read your questions to Howard.
This is just a cheap plug for my books.
Hello, you're on America. Do it.
On the left is the book that I've been droning on about for the last 40 minutes. And so I think you know a little bit about that. And on the right is my latest book, which is it says what it says on the cover, bibliography of the philately and the postal history of the British Isles. That's Great Britain, Ireland, the Channel Islands, Isle of Man, and Lundy, and a few other little islands as well. And it starts in about the 16th century and goes up to 2018. And well, very interesting it is too.
And I've had a note since we met on Zoom that we have your books on the APRL. So APS members have a look that we have that in our APRL collection. And Howard, you are offering this week, right, for your book? It's as long as it's $12 plus the postage, and it's 400 pages. So
yeah, I'm afraid the postage is rather excessive, but you have to blame eBay for that, not me.
Wow, you know what we'll do for philately. All right, friends. Well, let's get started here with some Q&A. On the block promotional souvenir sheet, why is the 1918 United States 24-cent airmail stamp shown upside down rather than showing the expensive inverted Jenny error of that stamp, which might be a stamp Keller would want if he collects US?
But he doesn't collect US. He specifically doesn't. He collects the whole world except US. And in fact, he's trying to fill up the Scott International album, which basically has every stamp up to 1940. But he goes up to 1952. What he does is it's the Scott specialized worldwide, the classic stamps catalogue. So he's trying to collect all the stamps in there. But for some reason, he doesn't want the US. I don't know.
This
Good stamp US. But maybe they're too expensive for him. I don't know.
That I don't know is a perfectly great answer. Here we go. The Lucy clip. Was that from the Lucy show, not I Love Lucy? Yes, it was the Lucy show.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of there's lots of philatelic TV shows that both comedy and, as I said, lots of thrillers and sort of mystery dramas, because when the writers of TV programs like to think that stamps are worth a lot of money, and you get some drama out of a stamp being stolen or a stamp being lost, and there you go. But sometimes stamps can be funny as well. Yeah, stamps are fun, aren't they? Let's have some fun with stamps.
By all means, I wish we could do a reality television here at the American Philatelic Society, because it is a laugh a minute constantly. Can you explain the technology used to play the clips? Well, we'll talk about that. That's actually embedding in a PowerPoint. Canadian TV series, Murdoch Mysteries episode, The Philatelic Fatality. So this, our friend here is providing a link. Have you heard of the Canadian TV series? Philatelic
Yeah, maybe. My book does finish in 2015, but I've updated it to 2018. So you get a 28-page supplement when you buy my book, which I print out myself. So it's all a little cottage industry for me. So it's not just a big faceless corporation. When you buy a book from me, you actually get my sweat and tears and everything. Yeah, there's some Canadian programs and Australian and British and foreign as well, French, German, Spanish, Italian. I feature the whole world in my book. Unfortunately, I don't have one right next to me, but
how is that possible?
Hold on 1 second.
Okay. So I'll just scroll here on our chat. Yes, thanks so much, everybody, for sharing all the information. Oh, Howard's back.
Yeah,
look at that mega book.
There's my book. Yeah, it's full of all sorts of good stuff. Some stuff you've never heard of. I don't suppose you've heard of Citizen Smith from 1977. Probably not. But oh, do you remember the film Burglar with Whoopi Goldberg?
Mm-hmm.
That was also written by Lawrence Block, who writes the wonderful Keller stories. He is my favourite writer, and I saw him at the World Stamp Show. He did a lecture about Keller, and I bored him with all my questions. Every other question was, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question?
Well,
if you get a chance to read the Keller books, then please do. Yeah, as for films and TVs being a juvenile thing, so there's a good film called Tommy Tricker and the Stamp Traveller, which is about a boy who basically travels around the world, and he travels on a stamp. So he becomes part of a Canadian stamp. It's the Canadian stamp with the Mountie on it. He's sitting behind the Mountie on top of the stamp. The stamp is stuck to an envelope, and he travels around the world having an adventure. And yeah, there's all sorts of things like that. What else have I got? I got.
Hold on. Repeat that,
what
please.
Scooby Doo. We all love Scooby Doo.
Wait, repeat that book.
Which book?
Where the kid's on the stamp.
Oh, it's a film.
It's a film. What is it called?
It's called Tommy Tricker and the Stamp Traveller. It's a Canadian-Australian co-production from 1988, and there was a sequel as well. It's quite a good film. It's for children, but it's entertaining enough, and there's some good philately in it. So
well, look out. APS might start having movie nights in addition to trivia nights. Why not?
Yeah,
we have more questions for you while we have the author on. Let's see, because we have 9 minutes left. Somebody's interested. Of course, we have Simpsons fans. What episode was that?
Right. We all love The Simpsons, don't we? I am a big Simpsons fan. Yeah, we have a new series starting next week on television, which for you would be about 7 years ago, but for us, it's a new series. Which episode was that? Let me just find it in my book, because there is an awful lot. I also have non-fiction in my book. I have news programs, newsreels. If you want to know, non-fiction programs going back to 1947. But just trying to find that one. Here we go. It is the Simpsons Episodes, and it is from.
Commit this to
Oh
memory.
yes, it's The Girl Who Slept Too Little, 2005. There's I will read a little bit for you. This will show you what my book's about. It says here, the noise of early morning construction next door wakes up the Simpsons, and they find out that a new stamp museum is under construction. The family and other Springfield residents protest, holding signs, some of which read, "Cancel the Stamp Museum." This leads to the museum being moved to the site of Springfield Cemetery. However, the cemetery is then moved next door to Homer Simpson's home. So Lisa has nightmares. There you go. And in another episode, Homer's Barbershop Quartet, it begins at a swap meet, and he finds a inverted Jenny in the swap meet, but he doesn't get it. And also, apparently, Bart Simpson has a stamp collection. He mentions it in the episode Homer the Vigilante, but he's never had much of an interest, has he? Oh well, it's too busy making mischief.
Well, and you know, you were saying that so many people like The Simpsons. I'm reading the chat box, and one of our friends who's watching right now said that he loves to watch Hyacinth Bouquet put stamps on each envelope on the introduction of what is it, Keeping Up Appearances. So
yeah,
that's a great one. So moving on, because again, you have so many questions here.
Okay.
Are there a lot more songs about stamps than the ones that you played?
Loads. Gosh, songs about stamps. Well, here we go. Music on stamps. I have two sorts of music on stamps. I have actual songs that are about stamps. So, for instance, where have we got? Here we go. How about, here's a lovely song. How about a 2-cent stamp brought me back $1 million love? That's from 1935.
And somebody said that in the chat box. That's cute. Yes.
The first song of 1928, Buying a Stamp. There you go. That's a record. I have got here, I have more than one section on music in stamps. I've got 165 songs about postage stamps.
And do you have a favorite?
Do I have a favorite? How about Lady in the Stamp Collection by Bing Crosby? That's from 1938. Or there's, I don't know. How about Stamp Collecting by, oh no, I better not mention that. Stamp Collecting by Dr. Love and the Erogenous Zones.
That's your favorite.
Well, no, I don't think I've ever heard it, actually, come to think of it. Have I got a favorite? I don't know. It's certainly not I'm from Barcelona, because I've heard that so many times in the last couple of weeks. I'm absolutely sick of it. How about Penny Black by Charles McMillan and Richard Matthews? Or, oh dear. There's quite a few. And there's also records and albums which have got stamps on the covers. So the music might not be about stamps, but the records have got stamps on them. So for instance, Elvis Presley, 2006, there was a Heartbreak Hotel Collector's Edition, and it was released in Holland in a limited release of 500 copies, and the cover has a reproduction of the Netherlands 2006 39-cent Elvis stamp on it. Or there is Nothing But the Best, which was Frank Sinatra's greatest hits, came out in 2008. And for a limited time, the 2008 42-cent Sinatra stamp with a first day cancellation was included with the CD. There was a Ray Charles Forever album in 2013. It was sold through the USPS, and it was released in conjunction with their 2013 Musical Icons Forever stamp, and you get an exclusive track. So this album is only available from the USPS, and it's an exclusive album. So there you go. And people even name albums. You know, there's the Climax Blues Band, who had a hit in 1975 with an album called Stamp Album. So there's some examples there for you. And as I said, there was also lots of sheet music which was produced for with, you know, about stamps. Give you couple of examples there. You've got things like the Briefmarken Polka and the American Stamp Polka and the Stamp Gallop. And I don't know if anyone can see. There you go. There's a couple of examples for you. There's
Stamp Polka.
There you go. And another example is on the cover of well, here's an interesting one. There you go. This is called the Philatelical Polka, and it's from the musical album by Frances Mary Palmer. So stamps are featured in novels, plays, an opera or two, songs, poetry, films, television programs, even jigsaws. And you do know about that because there is an American Philatelic Society jigsaw, I believe. It's in my book somewhere. Your building is featured on a jigsaw?
Yes. Yes.
It is, yeah. So there's another example for you. So I've got, you know, jigsaws, board games, playing cards.
Oh
All
my.
these things have stamps on them.
Well, whoever isn't, you know, who's ever a member, you're going to want to get that book from the APRL before I get it tomorrow morning when I come back. So I'm really interested. What is the name of the show of the last clip with the auction? One of our friends would like to know.
It's Not the 9 O'Clock News, which was a British comedy program which starred Rowan Atkinson and Biff Rhys-Jones from, was it the mid-1970s? No, 1970s, excuse me. It was about the mid-1980s, not the 9 O'Clock News. Yeah, sometime in the 1980s. Probably going to get that wrong, actually. Don't start writing to me and tell me it wasn't the 1980s. Oh, I don't know. But it starred Rowan Atkinson.
That means people have to buy the book, and it is.
You have to buy the book to find out. It co-starred Rowan Atkinson, and of course he's Mr. Bean. And there's an episode called Back to School, Mr. Bean, where he goes to a college open day, and one of the hobby classes that they're advertising, of course, is philately, and he gets bored with that, and so he falls asleep and falls onto an album of Austrian stamps. He then walks away with a 1921 flood relief overprint on his forehead.
Well, we could talk with you for a long time, and we probably will. You know, we had a stamp chat with Sterling Hedgepath. He was on a few months ago to talk about Philately, that was film on stamps. And I know that he referenced your book many times, sir. So thank you so much. And with that question, we will conclude our stamp chat. We thank you for your attendance and ask that you join us in thanking Mr. Howard Summers. Howard, go ahead and take a look at that chat box and enjoy all of your accolades and praise while I wrap up the show. You can find his book, Stamp and Stamp Collecting in Popular Culture, on eBay. Today's stamp chat was sponsored by the APS Membership Department. Becoming an APS member is easy. Visit stamps.org and apply online, and you'll have access to the American Philatelist, Classroom C3A, and access, of course, to the APRL, where I'm going to beat me to this book. For a chance to win a lifetime membership to the APS, join or recruit a new member today. Visit stamps.org and begin receiving your APS membership benefits now. For more stamp chats, visit and subscribe to the APS YouTube channel, where you'll find over 70 hours of stamp chats. Use the comment below, the comment box below the video, so you can continue the conversation. We monitor it and send those questions, those queries, the inquiries, et cetera, to our presenters. And oftentimes the presenters are on the thread as well. Have an idea for a stamp chat? Subscribe to our newsletter and send us an email with subject heading Stamp Chat. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next Stamp Chat. Until then, find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course on stamps.org. Thanks so much. Thanks everyone for joining us. And thank you so much, Howard. Thanks for spending a good night with us. Ciao, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.